What's up, guys? Ryan here, excited for our first deck profile for the channel. And to start things off, I'm gonna go ahead and show you my Blue Eyes White Dragon, like 48 card deck, 50 card deck basically. I really like this deck a lot. I think it's a lot different than what most Blue Eyes decks are. It takes advantage of Brilliant Fusion to get Crystal Wing with just a 2-card combo that I'll show off in the video. And I'm also going to do a deck analysis on this later on in the week, so make sure you guys check that out. Watch that and see how you like it. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right on the deck profile. Okay, guys, so the deck build overall is pretty standard. There's a lot of stuff in here that basically every Blue Eyes player is going to run. I'll point out the key differences that are in mine. I do run my deck. I believe it's at 49 cards right now, but I have to recount it. I pulled out a couple things. And there's a couple things, though, that most Blue Eyes players will say is a must, like must 3 of or must 2 of, etc., that I either cut down to 2 or 1, and I'll discuss those as I go through it. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get right into this. So first of all, of course, I'm playing 3 Blue Eyes. It's your boss monster in the deck, and, you know, that's how you get all your plays going. With the 3 Blue Eyes, I play only 1 Spirit. I know that most people will say to run 2 Spirit because 1 isn't enough. You know, if you banish it off Desires or whatever else, you know, it's just not, you know, worth only having a 1. I did have this at 2 for a while, and there's just so many times where I draw into Spirit and I just really do not want to. And it's just, and you can't search it with Melody. You can't get alternative plays from it. Like, basically, this card is only super good because you can special summon it in the end phase using Stone's Effect. But to me, with the build that I have, I don't always get Stone's Effect off as much as what a lot of other Blue Eyes players do, because I go for a different, you know, a different end board kind of feel. So this at 1 in this deck for me worked really well, but something definitely to play around in the future. With that, of course, I am still running 3 alternative, pretty much standard in every build. I do run, obviously, 3 Blue Eyes to match the 3 alternative, making my melodies live. Just an amazing way to get out of level 8, amazing ways to get your synchro plays going. Something I really like about this deck is that I don't rely on Blue Eyes alternative. I do not rely on the alternative dragon. It's really nice because that means that if I don't have a melody, or if I don't have a Blue Eyes or an alternative, then I can still go ahead and continue on my plays. Now, that being said, the deck still is pretty linear. That's kind of the thing with Blue Eyes, is there's still only a couple plays you can do, but alternatives are a really good way of helping you get into them. For my stones, I run 3 of the Whitestone Ancients and 1 of the Whitestone Legends. Obviously, Ancients, probably one of the better cards in the deck. It has 2 effects where, first of all, it's a level 1 light tuner, which is crazy, just within itself because it's searchable with Sage and everything. And then it has the effect of being able to banish itself from the graveyard to add a Blue Eyes card from your graveyard back to your hand. So this helps you to reuse your alternative plays, for instance with Dragon Shrine, or it helps you to get a Blue Eyes back to your hand if you need it for, once again, alternative plays. It also has a great effect of, during the end phase that this card was sent there, you can go ahead and special summon a Blue Eyes from the deck, and that's not once per turn. So if you're able to get like Dark Matter and send a couple different stones, you know, or whatever else, like Dragon Shrine maybe, and then Dark Matter, then Synchro, and you have all 3 stones, and if you still have 3 targets in your deck, you can go ahead and go off with this. I know a lot of Blue Eyes builds really focus on using Dark Matter Goliath locks with these, so you get, you know, you fill up your board with your 5 monsters, and then you special summon your Goliath and stand by phase 2. For me, that's just too inconsistent, and Goliath doesn't really do too much in the format right now. Because people are running Kaijus, you know, there's Drancia already to deal with, so if that's already out there, you're kind of screwed. And this deck, the way that I designed it, is really heavily made to go second. That way, losing the die roll doesn't mean that you automatically lose the match. So, yeah, so 3 stones, and then, of course, 1 Legends. I do run Cards of Constance in here, so this is just an extra target for that. It also helps me get a Blue Eyes to my hand, and it's, once again, another level 1 light tuner. For my kind of like spellcasters, I run triple Sage and 1 Master. Pretty standard, I think, overall, for sure, for the Sages. Obviously, probably one of the better cards in the deck for sure. There's a reason it's at 40, or I think it's at like 30 right now, but it's still pretty high. On normal summon, you can add any level 1 light tuner from your deck to your hand, so this searches for like Veiler, or your Master, or one of your stones, whatever you might need. It also has a really cool effect of being able to target an effect monster on the field, tribute or destroy whatever it is, the effect monster there, along with this card to the graveyard, and then you get the special summon out of Blue Eyes from the deck. So this also helps you to go off with like your spirit plays to get banish effects when it's summoned, and all that good stuff. And of course, it's just a tuner, so if you open up like alternative in this, then you get your Spirit Dragon pretty easily. I really like Master in my build. I do run the Brilliant Fusion, so like let's say I don't have a way of if they flip something that would be that would stop my Crystal Wing plays from going off. Master's really nice because it has two effects. First up, on its normal summon, I can add back a tuner from my graveyard to my hand, so that can instantly help me with getting my maybe like a dead Sage in my graveyard back to my hand. Because that's just a really, really big deal because Sage is super powerful in the hand. Master also has a great effect of being able to banish itself from the graveyard and then targeting a effect monster on the field, destroy that effect monster, and then special out of Blue Eyes. So it's very, very similar to Sage. It's not as good because this one has to go from the graveyard, and by the time that this is in the graveyard and you usually have a monster out, you usually don't have an extra monster to spare. But this is a really good recovery play for if like something happens with like let's say they Ghost Reaper let's say you get out your Stardust Charge and they like Ghost Reaper Crystal Wing. Then you're able to still use this to be able to go off and get your level 8 plays. So just a nice tech at 1. Brilliant Fusion I do run in here, so I run 1 Lazuli and 1 Galaxy Serpent. I do only run 1 Lazuli in here. That's despite the fact that I do run Pot of Desires. You can't draw into this. If you draw into this, you lose. It's not a tuner. It's level 1, so it literally can't do anything. All you can do is pitch it with Twin Twister. So you never really want to see this card. I usually don't. It's kind of the nice thing. There are times where I draw into it, but that almost never happens. The really amazing thing is that I almost never hit this off Desires. Now, if you want to play a pretty conservative match overall, you never use Desires until you get your Brilliant Fusion, or unless that's already wasted. But Lazuli has a nice effect of when it goes to the graveyard, you can target 1 normal monster in there and add it back to your hand. So that's why we run Galaxy Serpent, which is a level 2 normal light tuner. So this helps us so we can go ahead and use Brilliant Fusion with any tuner in our hand. Go ahead and go into Stardust, and then extra normal summon for him to go ahead and get Crystal Wing. It's super, super easy, and I'll go through the combo along with a lot of other stuff at the end of the video. But just such good synergy here. And the nice thing with Brilliant Fusion is as long as there's a Lazuli in the deck, basically anything is live, because you can send, for Seraphonite, you can send any light monster from your deck to the graveyard, so that includes like your Stone of Legends, your Stone of Ancients, a Blue Eyes itself, alternative, whatever you need to pitch in your deck, you're able to get from Seraphonite. This is just a target that I put in here, because it does get you to your Crystal Wing plays. Now for my uncalled hand traps, I run 2 Gamma Seal because number 1, it's a trade-in target, and it's also, of course, really good for getting rid of like Drancia or Invoked, all that kind of stupid shit that's out there right now. I used to run the Slumber build, but then I decided that I liked having Slumber and Crystal Wing and regular Blue Eyes is a lot of engines for one deck. It got really clunky, and then so I tried just doing the Slumber build and not doing anything with what's it called, with the Brilliance, and I just didn't like the consistency. It kind of felt, especially in this format, kind of like whoever gets to Slumber second is really the winner there, and so it became even more about the die roll, but kind of in a different way. And so I think for right now, just main decking these and side decking the Slumbers and stuff, which I'll go over, is really nice. But yeah, it is a trade-in target as well, so it's not really usually dead in your hand. 2 Ghost Ogre, of course, because it shuts down Zoo and a lot of other decks pretty easily. And then double Maxi, of course, because same thing, shuts down Zoo. This is a deck that you want to go second with as much as possible. So hitting your opponent on their turn and then being able to go off your next turn is super, super powerful in this deck. I think I'm running the monster count at like 23 after I took out my other Spirit Dragon, I want to say. So for the spells, of course, Brilliant Fusion, crazy engine. I hope this never gets hit. I think it's completely fair. But Brilliant Fusion, I open this so many times. It's really, really awesome. Brilliant Fusion and a tuner in the hand is literally it's literally an instant Crystal Wing as long as your opponent has no responses, and it's really awesome. And I'll go through that combo at the end here. For my draw power, I'm running 2 Desires because this deck does run a lot of 3-ofs or 2-ofs, and there's not really anything in this deck aside from Lazuli that you don't want to banish. Like Lazuli and Soul Charge are like the only 2 things that I kind of go, oh, if I banish them. But at the same time, they're not those. Even those 2 cards themselves aren't cards that you necessarily absolutely need to win. So Desires is really good in this deck. I run it at 2 because I never want to have 2 in my hand. I might, test it at 3 because just to kind of see it more often, because I do like seeing desires like on my first turn. But like I said, the risk of being able to draw into 2 desires or drawing into desires off your desires is just it's almost like it basically is a neg, and it's never really a good thing. But so for right now, 2 desires. For more draw power, I run triple trade-in and 1 Cards of Consonance. Trade-in any level 8 for 2 cards. Consonance level 1 Dragon type tuner for 2 cards. Really, really awesome. Just helps you dig through your deck, try to get to your soul charge and some of your other key pieces. For Monster Revival, I run 3 Return, obviously. Monster Reborn from the deck, or not from the deck, Monster Reborn, and then Banish to save the dragon. This helps you protect your Crystal Wing, your Dark Matter, your Spirit, and just alternative and stuff. It's on its own. Only 1 Silver Scry. It only targets Spirit and Blue Eyes, and I'm only running 1 Spirit in the 3 Blue Eyes, so this only gets to target them. It's still really nice because you can use the battle phase and get things off. Hitting this with Spirit is really nice because you get a Banish as well. But there's really not reason to run more than 1. Because if you open up like too many of your revival cards and not enough monsters, it kind of makes things a little bit dead. And then of course 1 soul charge for revival. You draw into this and it's almost going to be your game automatically because you can just do so much. For my kind of like searching slash just like a consistency text, I run 2 Melody and 2 Dragon Shrine. I used to run Melody at 3, but there's just so many times where I found myself like pitching Melody for Melody, or drawing into Melody when I don't really need it. Melody for me is almost just like a kind of nice search card that I can get once in a while. It's not super needed. It's not something that I'm like, I don't live or die by alternative in this deck, because with a lot of Blue Eyes decks, it's very, very, very based on like, can you get to alternative and then can you get to a tuner to get Spirit, or can you get to alternative and then find another way to get out level 8 like with Sage and go into a level 8 XYZ and then hope that you can draw on a soul charge. I like this deck a lot because it has a lot more options than that. And because of that, it has a lot less consistency issues and it has a much higher ceiling. And Melody at 2, I don't necessarily need to open up Melody to win a game. Drawing into it is really nice, and of course, resolving a Melody is of course very awesome as well, but it's not something that I absolutely need in this deck. Dragon Shrine, which is a card that a lot of people have always found iffy in Blue Eyes, for me, this is how I made this deck consistent. This is how I made a 50-card Blue Eyes deck consistent with 2 Dragon Shrines. I almost put this at 3, but I decided to instead drop a Melody, and I found that ran extremely, extremely well. It ran as so much more consistent by making that, so having 2 and 2. The reason why I consider this a consistency card is because it rids your deck of being able to draw into Blue Eyes off of like Trade-In or Cards of Consonance or Desires, and it also helps you to get stuff out of your deck before you go into your combos. That way you're not stuck with, banishing, 2 Blyes or whatever else. And this also, it just unbricks your hand really easily, and it sets up your graveyard, so if you open up this and like double return in your hand, that's an automatic, it's an automatic level 8 or Twin Burst. It's just such a good consistency card, and there's really no reason not to run it. I know some people only take it at 1, but honestly, there are so many times where I'd rather see this card than almost any card in my deck. Because like this, Brilliant Fusion and a tuner is just such a huge plus for you. But yeah, so 2 Dragon Shrine. And then just, of course, Field Removers. 2 Twin Twister, Double Dark Hole, and Raigeki. You are playing to go second in this deck. That's really, really important to keep in mind. So Field Clearance is extremely good. This is basically replacing my 3 Slumber. I used to run 3 Slumber and Raigeki, and then it just became a little bit too crowded for me. So Double Dark Hole and Raigeki. Obviously, it kind of sucks if you have to Dark Hole when you have a board, but generally speaking, once you get your board established after going second, you're pretty good from there. Your Dark Holes can be used for like Twin Twister material, stuff like that, or for recovery plays. Raigeki, of course, always good. And then Twin Twister for back row removal. I might run this at 3, but there's not really a reason to right now. I don't need to see this to be able to get my combos off because I do still run the 1 Spirit and I can still do a whole bunch of chains with that. But most people that run 2 Twin Twisters run either 2 or 3 Spirits, so I might have to bump this up to 3 depending on what happens more. But like I said, I'm going second with this deck anyways, so it's not like end phase Twin Twister is a super big deal for me. But yep, that's the main deck there, and we'll go ahead and go into the extra deck now. So I run the 1 Twin Burst. Obviously, this card is just really good, specifically for like the Cosmo matchup and also for anything that's kind of too big to get around. It can attack twice, and then anything that it doesn't destroy is banished instead. It's just kind of a nice beater. I don't really go into this because it's only really good in the mirror match and against Cosmos. This deck doesn't have too many outs to Cosmos in the first place, so being able to have a monster that's not destroyed by battle and then can banish something is really, really helpful. Obviously, the one Seraphonite, the combos with this are insane. Like I said, I'll go over after I go through the entire main deck some of the combos that you can end up getting off of this deck, but that's our brilliant target. Double Spirit Dragon and one Azure Eyes. Spirit Dragon, obviously crazy, crazy good, really good against pendulums, but there were so many times where I found myself going into Spirit Dragon, popping itself immediately, going into something else, and then soul charging everything back out. It's crazy good. Spirit itself also can get a graveyard effect, so that can be really good for like negating fusion, to shuffle itself back in, or I think Invoker also has or Alistair has the effect of being able to shuffle or like bring your thing back to your hand. So there's just so many. I mean, graveyard effects have always been pretty big the last couple formats, and so Spirit Dragon's really good. Azure Eyes, just a really solid target for saving you from like Dark Hole and stuff like that. This is a Stardust Charge Warrior. I just don't have mine right now. This is just something that we go into with Seraphonite that allows us to get an extra draw before we go in, and I'll showcase that here in a little bit. Crystal Wing, of course, because that's one of the main plays in this deck. Crystal Wing is still absolutely crazy. The fact that you can save it with return is also super helpful. For targets to go into with Spirit, I run one Michael and one Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Michael is really good for just being able to banish something that's in your way on the board, so you can like try to force out the Drancia or force out the Strike before you can get the rest of your combos off. And then of course Moonlight's really good. I found myself so many times like open up Kaiju, go ahead and go into like my alternative and my tuner, Synchro, go into Spirit Dragon, destroy my Spirit Dragon, go out into Moonlight, use Moonlight effect to bounce the Kaiju back to my hand and attack directly, and then this would die at the end phase. But at that point, you already got some damage, and you have your Kaiju to reuse for next turn. It's really, really good. A tech card that I do run is Vermilion Mech. This is probably one of my best outs to Crystal Wing, believe it or not. Despite the fact that Crystal Wing can negate monster effects, I have had so many games where I'm just like, before I ran this, where I was like, man, if only I had one extra level 9 Synchro to help get over the Spirit Dragon, or just something to help me here. This, by far, is one of the best ways. You run so many tuners in this deck, and you can get so many in your graveyard and hand really, really quickly. And then this card, I mean, if they decide to maybe negate your Spirit Dragon activation, or your Dark Matter or whatever, you have so much recovery with this, because all it's going to take is any of your Blue Eyes monsters and then any of your tuners, and then to go off with the effect. It outs Crystal Wing so well, and a lot of other problematic cards. It's just such a good recovery play in the end. For my XYZs, pretty standard overall. I run Tachyon, full armor, and Dark Matter. Pretty much just the combo there. He's really just to help you get into these two. Full armor, you can discard one to pop, and then Dark Matter, of course, being able to send 3 dragons from the graveyard and make your opponent banish 3, and then 3 monsters from their deck, and then you get to go ahead and attack twice during that battle phase. So that's really good. I do tech in the one Cypher, because if they already use their Drancia and then you manage to get out a Cypher afterwards, you can take that and then overlay into your own Galaxy Eyes, and just so many pluses from there. And then, of course, the one Harbinger, because if you can open up your board really, really well, this is a really good going second one, going first, because sometimes you will end up going first, like if you're playing against another deck that wants to go second, like a Slumber build or whatever. This card can be really good because it can negate that Slumber or that Raigeki, and then they have to play around your 3000 beater with probably Return Engrave. But yeah, so that's the side deck, or not side deck, the extra deck. I really like it a lot. There's really nothing I would change at this point, obviously, except for adding in my Stardust Charge. And then side deck real quick here. I do run triple Slumber and double Dorgon. This is just so good against decks that could open up with boards at 5. I side deck this in if I know that I'm going second against Heroes, Zodiacs, or Metal Foes. Invoker, I'm not as worried about this because I already run the Dark Hole Raigeki, and I just don't see a reason to clutter it up even more. Usually I end up taking out my Brilliant Engine and putting this in. So I take out my 3 Brilliant Fusions for these 3, and then my Lapis and my Galaxy for these. And it's a really easy swap in. It instantly changes your build from Brilliant to Slumber, and it adds so much more field clearance for you. Some traps. I have a Compulse in here. Triple Royal Decree for the Paleozoic matchup. This just, I mean, and just any like really heavy trap card decks. I've had times where I side deck this against metal foes, and it goes really well because, especially against like counter trap metal foes, because you flip this on them, and then their strikes, their counters, and their combos and their D barriers all become completely useless until they draw into like Eccentric or MST, because they don't run Twin Twister, and then many times they're not even running the MST, so they can only get to Eccentric, which most of the time, you know, is a little bit too late because you can kind of steamroll them before that. Double Flying C and Double Retaliating C, really good against metal foes, and then really good against any kind of like, you know, rank deck. This can help you shut down Zoo. It's obviously great. I mean, I've had some duels where I'm playing against like metal foe Zoo, where I'll have Double Max C, Double Retaliating C, Double Flying C in my deck, and it's really funny to kind of see, you know, how much this little archetype does for the side deck. And then to finish it out, my last Twin Twister that I'm not main decking, and my Vanities. Vanities, if I know I'm going first, like against a Slumber deck or whatever else, and I know I want to be able to draw into this, I'll definitely be putting this in, just to try to hope to draw into that. And then Twin Twister, my third one, against like back row heavy decks and whatnot. So that's it for the deck profile. I just want to go over kind of like a couple of the main combos here real quick. Try to keep this video a little bit shorter. So first up, I just kind of want to talk about my Brilliant Fusion play. So basically what you do is you activate your Brilliant Fusion here. I'll go ahead and do this. So you activate your Brilliant Fusion, which is then going to allow you to go ahead and send your, well, so basically if you have all you need in your hand for Crystal Wing in this deck is literally just Brilliant Fusion and Sage, or any level 1 tuner. Brilliant Fusion and any level 1 tuner, and you have Crystal Wing first turn. It's really, really crazy good. So basically, like I said, you activate your Brilliant Fusion, and then you go ahead and you send your Galaxy Serpent and your Lapis to the graveyard. You get out your Seraphonite here, and then you're going to go ahead and use the Lapis effect to go ahead and add Galaxy back to your hand. So you add Galaxy back to your hand, and now literally all that you need to have in your hand at this point is Galaxy and Sage. So you're going to go ahead then and normal summon whatever your level 1 tuner is. You're going to want to go ahead and Synchro to go ahead and get out your Stardust Charge. So you get out your Stardust Charge, and you're going to use the effect to go ahead and get your draw, and then you use your second normal summon because, so you used your extra normal summon on your Seraphonite, and then now you still have your normal summon, your first normal summon, your original one. So you get out your next normal summon, you go ahead and Synchro, and then you get out your Crystal Wing. So this play is really, really good for a couple of reasons. So the first reason why this play is really good is because at this point, if they strike this, you still, generally speaking, have 4, 5, or plus cards in your hand to still combo off with. Not to mention, if you have a Soul Charge, this just got so much better. Although you can't get your Crystal Wing back, you can get everything else that you've already sent to your grave and everything else in your hand. If they don't strike this, that either means that they don't have Strike, or you're going to win because you have a free Crystal Wing out at this point. And like I said, it's literally a 2-card combo. It's absolutely insane. It's so consistent in the deck. You know, you get a free draw off of Charge Warrior, and it still allows you with so many cards in your hand. It's absolutely crazy. So that's why I run Brilliant in here. You know, that's pretty much the main combo in the deck. That's kind of different from a lot of other standard Blue Eyes plays that I can think of. I really like Dragon Shrine sending like my Blue Eyes, and like I said, I'm going to do a deck analysis where I'm going to go on YGO Pro and do a whole bunch of duels just to kind of showcase what the deck can do, the consistency of it. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, you know, this deck's going to get you first place at every single regional you go to, because there are definitely ways that you can overpower this. This deck does lose to Vanities. It does lose to Drancia Pops if they hit it at the right time. You really rely on hitting into your Kaijus. You really rely on your hand traps, which is why you go second in this deck. But I mean, you run literally Raigeki, Double Dark Hole, and then your Maxis, your Ghost Ogres, your Gamma Seals. Like, all of this stuff right here is main decked to help you win against Zoo and some of the more powerful decks in the format. And that's an incredible advantage that this deck gets to have because it takes so little to make Blue Eyes go off, in my opinion. Some people say it's a huge resource deck. I really disagree with that because you're able to take advantage of running all of these different kinds of basically hand traps or spell traps and still be able to get off some pretty decent combos, because I've had times where I can sit there on alternative and just beat down for game. But yeah, so that's the deck profile, guys, and a little bit of the combos. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Let me know what you guys want to have in the future. And as always, have a great day. Don't forget to keep it classy, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See ya.